The housing allowance deposit that hit my account Tuesday morning was for someone I'd never heard of. I'm Master Chief Petty Officer Dorian Mercer, 32 years old, Navy. Currently stationed at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia, running cybersecurity protocols for joint operations. Been deployed here 8 months now. The routine was simple. Wake up. Check systems. Secure networks. Sleep. Repeat. But Tuesday changed everything. I was reviewing my monthly financial statements when I noticed the discrepancy. My basic allowance for housing showed a deposit of $2,847 made to an account ending in $4,729. Problem was, my account ended in $8,156. The deposit summary listed a beneficiary named Marcus Chen, address in San Diego, California. I'd never lived in San Diego, never knew anyone named Marcus Chen. I pulled up my banking app on my iPhone. The transaction history showed normal. My direct deposits were coming through as expected, but the housing office records told a different story. According to their system, my benefits were being split between 2 addresses, mine in Virginia, and this phantom address in California. I called the base housing office. The clerk, Specialist Rodriguez, pulled up my file. "Sir, I show 2 active housing claims under your Social Security number," she said. "One here at Quantico, one in San Diego, California, established 6 months ago." "That's impossible. I've been stationed here the entire time." The San Diego claim shows a dependent spouse, Marcus Chen. Filed with proper documentation, marriage certificate, joint lease agreement, all verified. My blood went cold. I wasn't married, never had been. "Can you send me copies of those documents?" "I'll email them within the hour, Master Chief." The files arrived 43 minutes later. The marriage certificate looked legitimate. County seal. Official signatures. Dated 18 months ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. The problem was obvious to me but apparently invisible to the system. I was deployed to the Persian Gulf 18 months ago, never set foot in Nevada. Someone had stolen my identity, created a fake marriage, filed fraudulent housing claims, and they'd been collecting my benefits for 6 months. I studied the documents closer. The signature on the marriage certificate matched mine perfectly. Too perfectly. Someone had practiced. Someone who knew my handwriting well enough to forge it flawlessly. The lease agreement listed a co-signer, emergency contact. Next of kin, my Aunt Patricia. The woman who'd raised me after my parents died. Who had access to all my personal documents. Who knew my Social Security number, my mother's maiden name, my first pet's name. Every security question answer I'd ever used. The woman I trusted completely. I stared at her signature on the bottom of the lease. Real. Authentic. Not forged like mine. My hands started shaking, and I couldn't make them stop. I needed to understand how deep this went. Patricia had been my guardian since I was 12. She'd handled my paperwork when I enlisted. Helped me set up my first bank account. Had copies of everything. The trust felt like a physical weight in my chest now. I called my credit union. Asked for a full account history going back 2 years. The representative, Maria Santos, walked me through each transaction. "I see regular direct deposits from the Department of Defense," she said, "but there's also a pattern of wire transfers. Every month. Same amount. Same destination." "What destination?" "A joint account in California. Account holder Marcus Chen. Co-signer Patricia Mercer." My aunt had opened a joint account with my fake husband. Using my benefits. My name. My Social Security number. How much has been transferred total? $47,800 over 6 months. Nearly $50,000. Gone. I hung up and called Sergeant First Class Williams. My closest friend since basic training. Currently stationed at Fort Bragg but always available when I needed backup. "Williams, I need you to run a background check on someone." "Unofficial." "What's the situation?" Identity theft. Family member, I need to know what else she's been doing. Send me the details. I'll have answers by tomorrow. That evening, I drove to Patricia's house in Richmond. 40-minute drive from base. I'd been there hundreds of times growing up. Family dinners, holidays, homework help at her kitchen table. She answered the door with her usual smile. 62 years old, gray hair pulled back, wearing the same floral apron she'd had for 15 years. "Dorian, what a surprise! Come in, come in." Her house smelled like cinnamon and coffee. Same as always, photos of me in uniform covered the mantelpiece. High school graduation, boot camp, promotion ceremonies. I was just making dinner. "You hungry?" "Actually, I need to ask you about something." Her expression shifted slightly. Still smiling, but her eyes went careful. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I pulled out the printed documents. Set them on her coffee table. The marriage certificate. The lease agreement. Her signature clear at the bottom. "Can you explain these?" She picked up the marriage certificate. Studied it for a long moment. Her hands were steady. No surprise. No confusion. "Where did you get this?" "The housing office. Apparently I'm married to Marcus Chen. Living in San Diego. Collecting dual housing benefits." Patricia set the document down carefully. Smoothed her apron. "I can explain." "I'm listening." "Marcus needed help. He's undocumented, been trying to get legal status for years. I thought if he could get married to a citizen, establish residency, it would give him a chance. Using my identity. You were deployed. Not using your benefits anyway. I figured it wouldn't hurt anyone." The casual way she said it. Like borrowing a cup of sugar. "Patricia, this is federal fraud. Identity theft. You've stolen $50,000 from me. I was going to pay it back once Marcus got his green card. Got a real job. How long has this been going on?" She looked at the photos on the mantelpiece. Me in dress blues. Receiving my promotion to Master Chief. 2 years. Maybe a little longer. 2 years. Not 6 months like the housing claims showed. This went deeper. "What else? What do you mean? What other accounts? What other benefits? What other lies?" Patricia stood up. "Walked to the kitchen." I followed her. "I opened a credit card in your name. Just for emergencies. And there's a small loan. For Marcus's immigration lawyer." "How much?" "The credit card has about $12,000 on it. The loan was $15,000. $77,000 total. My aunt had stolen my entire financial life. I need the account numbers. All of them. Right now. Dorian, you have to understand. I raised you, fed you, clothed you, sent you to college. This family owes me something." The entitlement in her voice hit me like a physical blow. "You stole from me. I invested in someone who needed help. Someone who couldn't get help any other way. Where's Marcus now?" "San Diego. Working construction. Sending money back to his family in Guatemala." "Does he know the marriage is fake?" Patricia's silence was answer enough. I pulled out my phone. Started recording. "Patricia, I need you to tell me exactly what you did. All of it. From the beginning. Why are you recording this?" "Because I'm going to the FBI tomorrow. And I want them to hear your side of the story." Her face went pale. The confident woman who'd raised me disappeared. What remained looked small. Frightened. "You wouldn't turn in your own family. You already did that when you stole from me." She sat down heavily at the kitchen table. The same table where she'd helped me with algebra homework 20 years ago. "I forged your signature on the marriage certificate. Used your social security number to establish Marcus's identity as your spouse. Filed joint tax returns. Opened the joint bank account. Set up automatic transfers from your military pay. How did you get access to my military accounts? I still had your power of attorney paperwork from when you deployed the first time. Never revoked it. The power of attorney I'd given her at 19. Trusting her completely to handle my affairs while I was overseas. I used that to change your direct deposit information, split it between your personal account and the joint account with Marcus. What about the credit card and loan? Applied online. I know all your personal information. Social security number. Mother's maiden name. First pet. Security questions are easy when you raised someone. She'd weaponized 25 years of love and trust. My phone buzzed. Text from Williams. Found 3 more accounts. Call me. I looked at Patricia. She was crying now. Quiet tears running down her cheeks. There's more, isn't there? She nodded. How much more? Maybe another 30,000. Student loans in your name. For Marcus's English classes. And a car loan. Over $100,000. My entire financial future. Gone. I'm leaving now. Don't contact Marcus. Don't touch any of the accounts. Don't leave town. Dorian, please. We can work this out. Family doesn't do this to family. I stopped at her front door, looked back at the woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me right from wrong, who'd betrayed everything she'd ever taught me. You're right. Family doesn't do this to family. I drove back to base in silence. Called Williams from my quarters. How bad is it? Bad. I found of at least 6 fraudulent accounts. Student loans, car loans, credit cards, all opened in the last 2 years. Your credit score is destroyed. Total damage? Conservatively, $120,000. I sat on my bunk, stared at the wall. 25 years of trust. Gone in one evening. There's something else, Williams said. I ran Marcus Chen through the system. He's not undocumented. What? He's a U.S. citizen, born in Los Angeles, has been for 32 years. The lies kept multiplying. Patricia hadn't been helping an undocumented immigrant. She'd been running a straight con. Using my identity to fund someone's lifestyle. I'm calling the FBI in the morning. Good. I'll send you everything I found. Document it all. I hung up and opened my laptop. Started building a timeline. Every fraudulent account. Every forged signature. Every stolen dollar. The woman who'd raised me had systematically destroyed my financial life. And she'd been planning it for years. I called the FBI field office in Norfolk at 0800 the next morning. Federal Bureau of Investigation. How may I direct your call? I need to report identity theft. Military member. Multiple fraudulent accounts. Hold, please. 3 transfers later, I reached Special Agent Nelson from the Digital Identity Unit. Master Chief Mercer? I understand you're reporting systematic identity theft. Correct. Over $100,000. Multiple accounts opened fraudulently while I was deployed. Who's the perpetrator? My aunt, Patricia Valdez. She had access to all my personal documents. How long has this been ongoing? At least 2 years, possibly longer. I'll need you to come in. Bring everything you have. Documentation. Timelines. I drove to Norfolk that afternoon. Agent Nelson was younger than I'd expected. Maybe 35. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. This is extensive, she said, reviewing my files. Your aunt was methodical. Professional-level document forgery. What's our next step? We build a case. But I want to try something first. A controlled meeting. Get her confession on record. You want me to wear a wire? Digital recording device. Small. Undetectable. We need her admitting to the fraud in her own words. When? Tomorrow. Can you arrange a meeting? I nodded. Called Patricia from Agent Nelson's office. Dorian? Thank God. I've been worried sick. We need to talk. Face to face. Can you meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow at 2? Of course. Anything. We'll figure this out together. The recording device was smaller than a quarter. Agent Nelson taped it inside my jacket collar. Remember, we need specifics. Dollar amounts. Timeline. How she accessed your documents. What if she doesn't confess? Then we go with what we have. But juries like confessions. I arrived at Riverside Park 15 minutes early. Checked the recording device twice. Patricia was already there, sitting on our old bench. She looked like she'd aged 5 years overnight. Dorian, I'm so glad you came. I sat down, kept my distance. I need to understand something. How did you get my social security number? You gave it to me. Years ago. For your emergency contact forms. And my mother's maiden name? Honey, I knew your mother. We grew up together. What about the bank accounts? How did you open them? Patricia looked around nervously. I had copies of your ID from when you deployed. You asked me to handle your mail. So you used my identity to open credit accounts? It wasn't supposed to be like this. Marcus needed help with school. Just temporary. Temporary? Patricia, this has been going on for 2 years. I was going to pay it back. Before you got home. How? You don't have that kind of money. She started crying again. I don't know. I thought maybe Marcus would get a good job after graduation. Tell me about the student loans. $43,000 for his English degree. And the car loan? $28,000. He needed reliable transportation. The credit cards? Maybe $50,000 total. Living expenses. Rent. Food. I kept my voice steady. Professional. So you stole my identity to fund someone else's life. I didn't steal anything. Your family. Family helps family. By destroying my credit? By forging my signature? I was desperate, Dorian. Marcus was going to leave me if I couldn't help him. There it was. The real motive. Not helping an undocumented immigrant. Not family loyalty. Fear of abandonment. How many accounts total? Maybe 8 or 9. I lost track. Patricia, do you understand what you've done? This is federal identity theft. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. You were deployed. You weren't using your credit. I was saving for a house, building my future. We can fix this. I'll talk to Marcus. Maybe he can get a job. It's too late for that. I stood up. The recording device had captured everything. Specific dollar amounts. Timeline. Method. Motive. Where are you going? To turn this recording over to the FBI. Her face went white. Recording? Dorian, you can't. I'm your family. You stopped being my family when you stole my identity. I walked away, left her sitting on the bench, crying. Agent Nelson was waiting in the parking lot. How did it go? She confessed to everything. Dollar amounts, timeline, method. Perfect. We'll have the warrant by morning. They arrested Patricia at her house the next day. I wasn't there. Didn't want to see it. Agent Nelson called me that afternoon. She's been charged with aggravated identity theft. Wire fraud. Bank fraud. She's looking at 5 to 7 years federal time. What about Marcus? Clean. He had no knowledge of the fraud. Thought she was paying for his education legitimately. And my credit? We'll work with the financial institutions. Most of the debt will be discharged. Your credit will recover. The case moved quickly. Patricia pled guilty to avoid trial. Got 4 years federal prison. Restitution of $123,000. Marcus disappeared after her sentencing. Never saw him again. The financial institutions were surprisingly cooperative. Most of the fraudulent debt was discharged within 6 months. My credit score slowly climbed back toward normal. I started helping other service members who'd been targeted. Identity theft was becoming epidemic in the military. Criminals knew we were deployed. Vulnerable. Easy targets. Agent Nelson connected me with a victims advocacy group. I spoke at financial literacy seminars on base. Taught people how to protect their identities during Kamsurer. The betrayal had cost me more than money. It had cost me trust. Family. The woman who'd raised me was serving federal time. But it had also taught me something valuable. Trust had to be earned. Even from family. Especially from family. 12 months later, I was back at Quantico. Permanent duty station this time. No more deployments for a while. The morning routine had become second nature. Coffee at 0530. Check emails. Review the day's schedule. Normal things that felt extraordinary after everything. My credit score had fully recovered. 812. Higher than before Patricia's fraud. The financial institutions had been thorough in their cleanup. Every fraudulent account closed. Every fake transaction reversed. The restitution payments came monthly. Patricia was working in the prison laundry, making 40 cents an hour. It would take her decades to pay back what she'd stolen. But the payments came, regular as clockwork. Marcus had reached out once. A single text message 6 months after his mother's sentencing. "I'm sorry. I never responded. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt." The victims' advocacy work had grown into something bigger. I ran social media campaigns on spotting phishing attempts targeted at service members. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of Marines sharing their own stories. Warning signs they'd missed. Red flags they'd ignored. Agent Nelson had become a friend. We met monthly to discuss new cases. Identity theft in the military was still rising. But awareness was growing too. Education was the best defense. I'd helped 17 other service members navigate similar fraud cases. Most involved family members. Parents. Siblings. Spouses. The betrayal always cut deepest when it came from inside. The apartment I'd rented was small, clean, functional. No family photos on the walls, no reminders of the past, just military commendations and certificates from the advocacy work. Weekends were quiet. I'd drive to the Potomac River, sit on the bank, watch the water flow, think about trust, about family, about the difference between the two. Patricia would be eligible for parole in 3 years. I'd received notification from the Bureau of Prisons. Victim impact statement requested. I hadn't decided whether to submit one. The woman who'd raised me was gone, had been gone long before the arrest. Maybe she'd never existed at all. Maybe I just wanted to believe she had. The financial security felt strange. My accounts were protected now. Fraud alerts on everything. 2-factor authentication. Credit freezes. Digital armor against future betrayal. But the real protection was simpler. I trusted carefully now. Verified everything. Questioned motives. Even family motives. Especially family motives. The advocacy work continued. New cases every week. Service members discovering fraudulent accounts. Fake loans. Stolen benefits. The pattern was always the same. Trust exploited. Vulnerability weaponized. I'd learned to spot the signs early. The desperate phone calls. The confused emails. The disbelief in their voices when they realized what had happened. I guided them through the process. FBI contact. Financial institution disputes. Credit repair. Some thanked me. Others just disappeared once their cases were resolved. Both reactions were normal. Healing looked different for everyone. The sunset over Quantico was particularly clear that evening. Orange and red bleeding across the Virginia sky. I sat on my apartment balcony. Watched the colors fade to purple. Then black. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new victims, new betrayals to unravel. But tonight was quiet, peaceful. The work was meaningful, the mission clear. Patricia's betrayal had destroyed one version of my life, but it had created another, one built on truth instead of trust, reality instead of hope, verification instead of faith. The silence around me was complete. No phone alerts, no suspicious emails, no family drama, just the distant sound of traffic and the evening breeze through the trees. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.